In a second-hand set of dimensions, on an astral plane that was never meant to fly, through wavering star mists, see the Great Atuin. Drifting onwards through space, atop the shell of the world's turtle, are 4 giant elephants, upon whose broad shoulders rests the Discworld. Welcome to Dining Table Discworld. We're reading through the Discworld novels and discussing them at our dining table. Be aware there will be spoilers for the current book and others in the series.
Hello, welcome to Dining Table Discworld. I'm Dave.
I'm Kathy.
And today we are taking a festive detour into the live-action Hogfather adaptation. So this was broadcast in 2006 on Sky. It was in 2 1.5-hour episodes on the 17th and 18th of December. Do we have a separate synopsis, or we're just going to sub in what we had for last time?
I mean, I guess you can go back and listen to our Hogfather episode,
go back.
Which was released in September, but we read it in summer. But now it's actually winter.
Yes,
and December.
Admittedly, we did watch it in November technically, but
it's still Christmas time and not hot June, July.
We did have our Christmas tree up at the time, so at least we're within the season. So
it's weird to read and talk about Hogfather in summer. So it's like, well, we can just do a Christmas special.
Yes. First up, did we like it?
Yes.
There we go.
I think we did watch it when it first came out, because I think that was when we had Sky, or we had access. We were in houses that had Sky.
It was like many years ago now. I can't remember that far back.
2006, I think that's when we first moved in together.
Yes.
So, I mean, I think I enjoyed it fairly well at the time, and it's something that, because it's general on Sky, I'd only seen little bits of other times. It's not something we've rewatched and rewatched. No. But now we have the DVD.
Yes, I think we've... So this obviously was the first of the live adaptations. We've already talked about Colour of Magic earlier, which was actually the second one. I actually think Hogfather is the best of them, but, I'm also...
I do recall also seeing Going Postal and that being alright too.
To be fair, I've only watched Going Postal once. And that we watched around someone's house.
Oh, okay.
So it will be interesting to when we get around to watching that, how But I think certainly of
that'll be a while.
Yeah. Of Christmas next year, maybe not. Anyway, so of certainly of the two of them so far, I enjoy Hogfather better. But then again, I also like Hogfather as a book better. So that's unsurprising.
Yes, that's true. And obviously, it's a thing that if you watch at the right time of year, you're already quite primed.
Yes, it is. I have read, as I've said in the Hogfather episode, I've read the book many, many times at Christmas, and I think we will we'll most likely watch this adaptation many times in the future at Christmas as well.
Yes, at some point we won't have to schedule how we consume Discworld stuff, which obviously is entirely our choice to do, but is now thinking about like, oh yeah, this. It's like, well, I'll read that in whichever month it comes up, according to the schedule.
Yes. Anyway, so yes, obviously we both enjoyed it, so let's now nitpick at it.
It's not love language, but one we sometimes have.
Yes, I mean, if we have a podcast, this is what we do. We enjoy something, and now we're going to poke holes in it.
Well,
in a loving manner.
Yes, well, it doesn't have to be holes, does it? Yes. So if we talk about, I guess, the adaptation first, how it is as an adaptation of the book.
I mean, it's pretty damn faithful. You don't have too many additions, and what you do have is very minor, and what you have cut out, while some of it is disappointing to have less of, it does make sense for the overall story that they're telling.
It's sort of side stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, you don't get the canting crew stuff and the restaurant serving of boots. Death of Rats isn't in it as much, which we feel is much a shame, but much of that was taken. I think Quoth took some of the stuff there that he needed to do, and
the Raven's only in it a little bit.
Yeah, the Raven, but I don't. He's not. He's sort of an added confusion to the whole.
I've seen people say before, if you've got a novel, particularly one that's quite meaty, those are almost better as TV or kind of longer film adaptations, whereas like short stories work better as movies. So I think the length worked all right with it. But yeah, we discussed, obviously, when we had in the main Hogfather episode, that Hogfather is a book with quite a few kind of, like little bits and vignettes and things. And so a lot of those pulled out. But I don't think it affects it badly. as you said, there's the Canton Crew stuff. There's the kind of good King Wenceslas bit.
Yeah.
Which, in fact, a lot of the class stuff is what was taken out.
Yes.
Because you've got that Susan is the governess to, a family who's of wealth enough to have a big house and a separate classroom and a governess. But there's none of the stuff about how Susan herself is a duchess or the. There's a little bit of the class stuff in that I think the wife of the house is a bit like she's obviously trying to impress people a bit, but there's not the kind of very funny stuff with her discomfort with Susan. You see the dad's actually in it a lot more, whereas I don't even recall if he was definitely in it in the book. Like a man says something at some point, but who the man is, we have no idea. I don't think. There's one bit where Def and Albert go to a poor person's house, like properly, like in poverty, and Def sort of questions, well, why is there less here when we're giving away all that stuff at the shop? And Albert does sort of use the word, socio-economic.
Yeah.
But then it all turns into Albert's backstory of him looking through the window and seeing the horse, then getting frozen to the window. Which in this makes more sense because you don't know he's 2,000 years old and quite how long windows have been.
Yeah,
good.
We're coming to that in a moment.
That's just my sort of nitpicky thing. But there's other stuff, the stuff with the wizards as well. There's more stuff. Oh, I suppose they have the little match girl, don't they? So they do have like here is a homeless child in the snow.
Yeah, they have part of it.
And Albert explains why that's.
Yeah,
although again, I think we said in the other Hogfather episode, it's not something I felt was particularly traditional. I think I read that story in a Hans Christian Andersen compendium I had and was like, oh, that's a bit grim.
Well, I think Pratchett was kind of putting it there as a kind of a lampshading on this is used as a traditional Christmas seed, but actually it's quite not brilliant as the idea. Although I did miss Albert throwing snowballs at the angels.
Yes, but I think it would have been theologically confusing.
It would have been. Don't get me wrong, but I just that's I love that part of the ending of that. It's like and then
you threw snowballs at them until they went away.
Yes, yeah.
But also, the thing with good King Wenceslas turning up, embarrassing the old man, but then Def kind of doing the same thing. There's some of those bits, but they aren't plot central or plot heavy, and I feel like having the match girl in kind of there's less of Def getting too into the role as well in the TV version, because in the book he's like, I'm the Hogfather, and now it's like, for now I think he starts to say, well, this isn't right, and then it's reminded of like, no, this is your regular job. It's like your regular job is also happening, because this is what happens when you're covering somebody's work. You still have to do
your record. Pick up your own. And I think the lack of the wizards bickering over I had a pillowcase.
That was in the bit. It's just one bit, but there is a bit where one says pillowcase, one says stocking, and then they have a.
And we get less of these summoned creatures, so we don't get the cheerfulness fairy.
I think that would have been a bit weird, though.
Oh yeah, no, but I'm quite happy to lose that.
You had the Veruca gnome; he was very prominent. You had the balding fairy,
hair loss fairy.
Yeah, you had the Eater of Socks.
It's just not as cute as I think it should be.
Well, that's just based on your appreciation of the Paul Kitby drawing.
Yes, but still, that's fine. But that's my.
But there wasn't. But then again, I think I always find when I read Hogfather, as I sort of forget about some of those, and they turn up, I'm like, oh, there's quite a few more of these, and I recall.
Yeah.
So it's fine. It's fine to cut them down a bit.
The tinkle tinkle fairy.
No, glingle glingle glingle.
Okay, yes,
was how it was written.
Yeah.
And again, the wizards are in it. It's mostly Ridcully and then Ponder, who it's not even. No, I think it's kind of clear he's obviously younger, but like a teacher or something. But the others, they don't really. I think they do give them names.
They do, because
I don't like. But then I think it's just my thing of like, well, they're just a mass of like.
Well, because when Ridcully first comes into the dining table chamber and he addresses each of them by name. And
it's not important.
And occasionally they get referred to.
But there was only 3 of them, which I think is less. Yes. Was it 3 of them?
Dean, Bursa, and like the Reader of Recent Runes or something like that.
Maybe, yeah. Other than the Dean not being fat, which is very much a thing that's mentioned in the books.
Yeah.
But didn't really seem
to be particularly
relevant to this, because again, it's just like, here's a group of old guys in wizard clothes. that's what they're for.
Yes.
But, I mean, it was still good. And as you've mentioned, you prefer the wizards when they're diluted with other plots.
Yes. And again, they worked. They were there for their plot elements. I added a little bit of fun. I mean, obviously, we still had the shower room, though didn't have as much of the comeuppance.
There wasn't the payoff of that. I think that was paid off a bit sooner in that Rick was like, oh, no. And I think it's most so for the Veruca gnome to be. Well, they do have Mr. Modo, who's played by an actual gentleman dwarfism.
Yes.
But yes, that was a bit quick and... Because it's a bit weird, because they kind of have to introduce the wizards with Rid Cully getting ready for a shower. Yes. And then they all hang around outside. And I'm like, that's weird. I know this is a very strange workplace, which is also where everyone lives. So it's far too kind of codependent or something. But, like, why are they hanging around outside just having a shower? And they do explain it's a kind of experimental shower. Which leads us to the other missing character, which is the librarian, because obviously the end of book payoff of the shower is based on the librarian playing the organ, but the librarian then isn't in this.
He's hinted at.
It is difficult to get an orangutan, I imagine.
I think the problem is, I mean, this is relevant to adaptation. I think they've done a good adaptation.
Yeah, it's very good.
But I think they're relying on some of the elements for you've already known the source material. So,
which isn't unreasonable for such a popular series of books.
No, but I think for the bit I'm going to refer to is obviously the bit where the wizards are hanging out in the library, waiting for the Hogfather to come and visit the librarian, and you don't.
They explain they're waiting for the Hogfather, but they don't explain.
But they also say do they also talk about do they come to primates?
Oh, yes, because Rico says, do you think the Hogfather will come to apes before humans? And then Ponder says things like, oh, have you read my recent thing that humans and apes are actually related, which obviously, as we've just done Last Continent, is a whole thing. And Rico's like, no, I just thought he'd do it alphabetically.
Yeah, but I think the thing is...
But yes, there's no ape there.
You don't see him. They don't even mention why they're there.
See, I wonder if that was cutting room floor thing. Like, maybe it did make more sense in a scene where they sort of said something, or maybe they had like a pile of fur under a blanket, but then they got cut.
Also, they don't even say why, because obviously in the book they go because they feel like he's the most childlike and innocent.
Well, they know he also believes a stocking for the Hogfather.
Whereas because
he wouldn't use a stocking the rest of the year, so it must be noticeable.
Yeah, but the point is, they don't even mention that. It's a little bit of a and obviously for us we just kind of gloss over it knowing it. But I think for other people that might seem a little bit of a and it's just needed to get the wizards talking to Death, so that Death then can talk to Hex, and Hex can give more some of the plot. Yeah,
probably it does leave out a character, but I mean, Librarian's not particularly big in this book, so I can see why he wasn't included, because it's hard to get an orangutan on screen.
Yes, I get it, but I just think it's an example of where it doesn't quite, the adaptation is good, but the adaptation isn't necessarily great for people coming new to the property.
I mean, I think so. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff being condensed because it's TV. Another thing is the bad guys.
Yes.
Is that there's a whole gang of them in the book, and then there's only really Medium Dave. Is it Chicken Wire?
Chicken Wire.
Banjo, obviously, Mr. Sidney the Wizard, Mr. Brown Locksmith, who kind of come separately in a identifiable character with a particular role. Whereas the whole point in the book was the others were just kind of like heavies to be around.
Yeah.
So you can always slim down the number of heavies.
Yes.
Except for Banjo, and I guess therefore Medium Dave, and then I guess another guy for Medium Dave to talk to.
Yeah.
So there's that, which was fine, but I think that also kind of works with the fact that one of the big changes is they condense the timeline, because it's all in one night.
Yes.
Whereas in the book it's very clearly at least like a week or so.
I mean, in the book they also talk about elements of it affecting timelines.
Yeah, there is an idea that it's going backwards in time.
Yeah, so the spell affects backwards as well as forward.
It's anyone whose teeth are there, which is everyone.
So that means it does have a bit of an odd feel to it in the book, because things aren't quite necessarily happening in the same in quite.
Some of the locations are outside of time. Obviously, Death's Domain's outside of time. Susan explicitly stops time at one point in both the book and the TV show, which I think was well done, but we'll get to that. And I think the Two Fairies castle's kind of out of time in that it's all what happens to the teeth.
Yeah.
And the whole point is, because from early in the book, before you even know what Tiatame and his gang are doing, there's already kids going, oh, I bet it's just my dad. So I think it works with how the books are a bit, because actually Death as the Hogfather comes in quite early, and then a lot of it is like, oh, this is what happened before.
Yeah.
So it does kind of work. It just feels a bit quick. Where, I mean, that's another thing that got left out, is that Susan didn't take a trip to Beers.
Yeah.
But that wasn't particularly needed, because we already have what a bogeyman is explained with the bit with the children.
But I think you also get, because obviously at the start of the first episode, you do get to see the Hogfather being the Hogfather, and the pixie that's with him.
He's an addition.
Yes, he is an addition.
They just gave him like a slightly snarky sidekick who then disappears very swiftly.
But in the book, obviously, Hogwarts Siege Eve is happening, but the Hogfather hasn't started his round.
No.
So I think it's timeline wise, it's always going to be a bit.
Yeah, well, because it's clear that
goosey.
Because you have T.S. May recruiting the gang, which we also have in this, but that seems to happen the same night. It seems like the auditors go to Downey tells Tea Time to do it, Tea Time recruits the gang, and then they kidnap the Tooth Fairy, and then they get to the guys, take them into Toothing. That all happens in what presumably must have been like some hours, whereas it's clear that's happened across days, because in the book they're all talking about how they've been in the Tooth Fairy's land for days, and it's driving them mad. And that's the other thing, you don't get them. There's less of them and less time, so you don't kind of see as much of them acting like children or becoming explicitly childish. But although it's clear that fear and nightmares is involved, so that's still done quite well.
I mean, but you've got the sections with Susan and the kids.
Those were good.
Yeah, those were good, but because of the compressed timeline, it felt like they went to bed either very early or they kept getting up.
They did keep getting up.
They did keep getting up.
And she was annoyed, and I don't think we've watched this since we became parents, and like when she's a bit like, oh, for goodness sake, like, she didn't say it, but that's her expression. I'm like, yes, that's how it is. It's like, there's a problem now. But why? Yeah. Just stay in bed.
So I think with the timeline convention thing is a bit of a nitpick, but it's not too detrimental to the storytelling.
Yeah, it makes sense in the milieu of Christmas stuff. So yeah. Also, it is the longest night of the year, so maybe it got dark really early, and maybe it's dark all afternoon, and I don't know how that works on a disc. But anyway, but maybe it's like Greenland or something. Possibly. I don't know. Because all the external shots are dark, but yeah, apart from the Tooth Fairy stuff, obviously. But yeah, so I mean, stuff we liked. Obviously, we liked Susan, the way she's in that, and also I think her conversations with Death. A lot of her words are definitely taken straight from the book.
We do get a lot of speeches wholesale, especially the important ones later on. But yeah, you got a lot of conversations that are pretty much taken straight from the book.
The dad saying about him being in it a bit more, that there is a bit where the children, because as you say, it shows the Hogfather doing something. So the suggestion is that actually the Hogfather's already out, Tea Time's done his thing, and then he's gone, and then Death takes, and it does sort of show Death discovering something. Where again, I think a lot of the stuff where that happens, it's kind of people recounting stuff from before. It does show Death. Then it's interesting because it's the same sequence. It's like comes down the chimney, leaves some sooty footprints, puts stuff in the stocking, takes the mince pie and the pork pie and turnip and the drink, and so it sort of shows the Hogfather doing that, and you don't really see him, and then it shows Death doing it. But then later, when it sort of shows that the magic's taken effect with the teeth, it then shows it's the dad, and the kids catch the dad. And this time, what I noticed is there's a card on the mantelpiece with the picture of the Hogfather on it, and then at the end, it's like when the kids see it's their dad, it's the dad.
Yes. Which, there's some good stuff in there.
Yeah, no, so yeah, and well, this is the things when you do adaptation was add stuff. There was a lot of detail in like the set, and the props were all, I think, very well done.
Yes.
So I think, a lot of attention to detail was paid, which is good. Did you want to go into casting?
There is a lot of big names in this.
I mean, considering how we went through the cartoons, there's a lot more people. But yes, there's quite a lot of people who we recognise and things.
Yeah, even if they're not big names at the time, they're certainly recognisable from being on British telly a lot. So
yes, we did that usual thing of going through Wikipedia and IMDb, but of course every British actor's been in Doctor Who, so
and Casualty and Doctors.
Well, it depends. So let's start with David Jason as Albert.
That's fine. I have absolutely...
It was fine. It's good. It was very good as Albert.
I have absolutely no problem with David Jason as Albert. I think it works great as a character.
I mean, is David Jason a national treasure?
I mean, I don't feel either way. I think other people feel like that. I don't have the... I never watched Only Fools and Horses.
You didn't? What?
We have had talks about my family's strange TV.
Okay, did you? Okay, I mean, because I never watched Touch of Frost, but I was probably a bit young.
I know of it. I have seen clips of it. I know about Trigger's broom. I know about him leaning on the bar and falling over. I've seen the clip of them running around as Batman and Robin. I know, you know.
Who's in the chandelier clip?
Yes.
Okay.
So
it's obviously that's massive, and then obviously he was Granville in Open All Hours.
Never watched that either.
Well, I watched reruns of that, but at least
I know of it.
Okay, well, that was when he was quite young. And also, he was in a lot of the Cosgrove Hall animations because he's the voice of Danger Mouse and Count Duckula. So I was listening to a podcast recommendation here for a different podcast, Comfort Blanket, which is lovely, but somebody was talking about Count Duckula on that. And I'd sort of forgotten how much David Jason was in so much of that. It's the point where I'm now actually slightly surprised he wasn't somehow in soul music. Is he in Weird Sisters? We've not
haven't looked
done.
No.
We probably need to decide time to do that, but that's for later.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were sort of saying, it's even Cosgrove Hall, David Jason isn't involved. And I was like, well, he wasn't in that one. But obviously he was keen to be in Discworld because he did this and he was keen to, you know.
I mean, obviously,
I think he was friendly with Sir Terry.
Yeah, I appreciate that, you know, Dave Jason has a lot of affection for the Discworld and, you know, he was a driving force in getting some of this done. You know, I think he's an excellent Albert. I think he does the character really well. I just don't think he's Rincewind and, you know.
Well, we've already had that conversation.
Yeah.
For that conversation, look at our last Christmas episode.
Yes. So this obviously is the section where we talk about other podcasts because... because an interesting fact I heard on the Jay and Mars Explain the X-Men podcast...
you have to pronounce that properly.
X-Men. Explain the X-Men. Yes.
Yeah, that's the bit.
It was...
you made me spell it that way.
Yeah, of course it is. But for reference, it was their latest one as recording, which was 507, and Hogfather comes up, and Jay has this great little fact, which is David Jason refused to smoke. And so all the bits where Albert is unable to do one of his roll-ups is the kind of the nod to the character always smoking, but allowing for David Jason to not have to smoke.
Which is cool, because it occurs to me that much like I just said he's National Treasure, David Jason's one of those people who is in everything, but I don't feel like I know what his stance is on anything, which nowadays feels a bit like Larry in so many cases. But actually it's like, oh, he refused to smoke on screen. Oh, that's quite good. I'm just trying to think the Del Boy smoke. I think he had cigars sometimes. I feel like I associate this more with Boise. He wasn't like smoking all the time.
But you know, just because you see him in his hands doesn't necessarily mean you see him actually smoking.
That's true.
So you know, I think not. As I said earlier, I haven't watched much Only Fools and Horses, but you know, while you see him in pictures with them, it's not necessarily something he's, you know.
That's true.
But yeah, I just thought, you know, as a bit, I never.
Oh my god! Sorry, it just occurs to me he should have played Dibbler, because Dibbler was literally that kind of character, except a bit more Boise. Anyway, sorry.
It never occurred to me that was anything other than
it's
just...
an ongoing running gag, isn't it? Like, Albert keeps trying to do a roll up and light it, and then there's wind or he drops it or something, and it's so Pratchett-y.
It's a great visual gag. It doesn't detract from anything. You know, and
gives him something to do on screen.
Yeah, and it's just a great little addition.
No, and now there's a cool reason for it, and not just here's a funny thing that was happening, like this guy keeps trying to smoke and is interrupted. It's almost a little bit odd when you watch older stuff and you're like, oh, people are smoking everywhere, and then you're like, oh, well, they did. Yes. And I kind of remember that, and that was after they'd been campaigning quite a while for how cigarettes were bad, and I think there were already restrictions on things. So I remember all those Benches and Hedges adverts, and now I don't know what any cigarette brands are.
No. Right, anyway, so David Jason, excellent as Albert.
Good. I think also it's good to give him something to do, because quite often he's got something to sing to him and Death.
Yes.
And obviously Death can't emote in the same way.
No.
On to other actors that are in this. Mark Warren as Mr. Tea Time, or Teatame, as he says it, and
So I think the one thing for me is perhaps the physical, the one white eye and the one really black eye possibly detracted a little bit for me. But that's more of the character, you know, him as a character, him expressing as the character, absolutely fine, you know.
Well, you know, the one really white eye was just his eye. That was like a regular... But that was just his eye. He's a man with blue eyes, as you yourself are.
Yes.
I think it's in the book, it's one white one and one regular one that maybe looks a bit intense or something. And then I think in this they just made it black. But that probably looked better for visual reasons.
That was fine. It just
particularly because he's quite a pale gentleman.
Yeah. But, you know, but he definitely managed to come across as creepy and weird.
So Mark Warren is an actor who can just do so many different kinds of menace. Because the first time I came across Mark Warren was in Hustle, which is like the BBC version of Leverage that I think was actually on before Leverage. But it was a similar sort of like a gang of con artists go out and con a greedy person. It might have been slightly less seeking justice, but he was this very cheeky, chappy sort of character in that. And I think he's been other things where he plays kind of cheeky, chappy character. And you're like, all right, fine, yeah. And then he's just incredibly frightening in so many different ways in a lot of stuff. Because he also played Dracula. He played a psychopathic killer in Life on Mars. And he played the thistle-haired gentleman in Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell.
Yes.
And I don't know his whole work, but is it like he's scary in genre and like not scary in non-genre? I don't know. But just... And the things, every time I see, like, I think the first time, I can't remember which role it was, it might even have been this, I saw Mark Warren play scary, I was like, oh, okay. But then every time I see him play scary, it's a different flavour of scary. And it's like... so I just recommend him all those things.
Why not have just a repertoire of scary, basically? But.
Yes, but it's just it's really good because in this he does like a scary little childish voice.
He's mimicking Johnny Depp's Willy Wonka.
Is he?
Yeah.
Is that the same?
Yeah.
I don't remember when things are. Oh no, now you say that, yes. I just thought he was like, I was like, oh, he's doing it slightly American. Makes him. Oh, okay. Well, okay, yeah. Well, then fair. Another even better reason for something that I enjoyed on TV, and it's like now it has a good reason. It's like mimicking this creepy, awful person. Okay. Yes. Sure. So, as ever, Mark Warren was in something and was scary in a way. But yes, but again, it's a lot of actual Tea Times lines. The main thing they have him do that I suppose is slightly supernatural-ish is that he sort of, people be looking at him and he'll suddenly appear somewhere else. But yes. I think the book suggests he can do that too.
I think that's something that is implied as something he can pull off in the books.
But yeah, I mean, I think they must have condensed some of his bits down, but I don't remember anything that's explicitly missing. You know, I think all the main stuff is there, and he's scary and awful. And I hadn't realised that was what that was explicitly from. But that makes it even more creepy. But also, it's like, oh yeah, well that deserves to be made creepier then. Yes. So, sure. Yeah, that actually fits really well. So. Yes, I think I hadn't seen him in anything scary for quite a while, because I think a few of those things came out around the same sort of time. Yeah. And then Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell came out something later, and I was like, oh, it's Mark Warren being scary again, but in a different way. I'm sure he does other stuff. I just feel like I don't see any of that.
Yeah,
most of what I watch now is genre. And then so Michelle Dockery as Susan.
I mean, I think she makes an excellent Susan, much better than the Limp Lettuce that we had in Soul Music, but that was an animated Limp Lettuce. But
you said she did the voice of the Deaf of Rats.
Yes, she did. Yes,
Deaf Rats only being in it very briefly, but yes. I kept thinking she looked familiar. And then you had to remind me that she was Lady Mary in Downton, which obviously was after this.
This was her first major acting part.
She looked very young, but the point is Susan is pretty young, really. Well, when you read it as a child, Susan's all grown up. And then when you read it as an adult, you're like, oh, she's very young.
I think she's early 20s.
Well, I think as we discussed, it's unclear, because she sort of says she had like 2 years of normality. Yeah. But then, based on the ages, that seems very young. Although people grow up quicker in the sort of time frame it's set in. Yeah. But then again, 2 years of normality isn't necessarily that's how long it is, because of how many years of non-normality was there anyway. But yeah, she was really good. There were some times when felt like stuff was a little bit held back, like not quite stilted, but a little bit held back. But I think that actually was probably on purpose, because Susan is not outwardly a particularly emotional sort of person. She's still very into the logic and stuff like that. Again, there's a bit less of that than in the book, but I think the thing that obviously being TV that you lack from book is the interiority.
Yes.
In the book, we're getting what Susan's thinking, how annoyed she is, whereas outside she's just being like mildly sarcastic or very, very dry. In fact, there's maybe a little bit of like a flat effect type thing in there, but considering that on the more recent readings of Susan, I felt, oh, actually she doesn't feel neurotypical now that I understand that as a framing. Yeah. I think that works just fine. And yet a lot of the lines that Susan has, they're very dry. I don't think they're the easiest things to deliver, but she does it. Yeah. And she also does one of the physical parts as well.
Yeah. No, it's a good version of her.
Well, you can see what they cast from like other things.
Yeah, I don't know. So.
But yes, I stopped watching Downton Abbey after around the second season. Yes, her character has various things. Downton's very confusing because in the first series, it starts with the Titanic sinking, which is kind of the inciting incident. And then you watch what you assume to be about 6 to 9 months worth of plot, and then suddenly World War One has started, and you're like, what happened to 1913?
Compared to the expanded timelines.
I think it's one of those things I sort of fell out of it, and then a lot of stuff had happened. It's like, I just not managed to get back into it, but, it's fine. So I guess those are like the main big ones. We've got various people we could go through. So Death is voiced by Ian Richardson, who I think died very soon after.
It was the February after this aired in the December.
There is an in memoriam on the DVD.
Yeah, obviously Christopher Lee was excellent in and Ian Richardson does an excellent job in this. Yes, just gets the right kind of level of, and the ability to go ho 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 in various different ways to
various different intonations.
Yeah.
And then the body was Marnix Vandenbroek, who was, I believe, a dancer.
Ballet dancer, yes.
Yes, who's obviously very tall. So he was actually wearing the mask and, the whole black outfit and stuff. And so it's kind of like a David Prowse, James Earl Jones thing with Vader, in that, one guy's actually acting it and doing all the scenes and is doing the lines himself, but then they put the voice over it. But it's clear, I assume that's what was happening here. Anyway, I don't know. But obviously when he's playing Death, he's... even because obviously the mask doesn't have a moving mouth.
No.
Much like Darth Vader. So,
makes these things easier.
But he's clearly still saying, he's clearly still, like, when there's conversations, he's clearly acting, all the gestures and stuff there, so that's good. I don't suppose there are any things where was he Dutch?
I believe so, yeah.
I don't know if there's any, footage where he's doing the lines in Dutch accent, because obviously there is, I understand stuff where Darth Vader is striding around going, she's a rebel and a traitor, because David Prowse was from Somerset. So, or he's definitely somewhere West Country, is my understanding.
Yes.
I've heard people mention they've seen that online, which... Yeah. Have I seen that? I'm not sure. I've definitely heard about it anyway. Yeah. But yes, I think but that both works really well. And also with the voice acting, Death is kind of slightly a narrator sort of character.
Yeah.
So there's an element of him...
which is useful.
Sort of saying some bits and just sort of introducing. But it's not really heavy narration.
No.
I mean, the voice is obviously heavy because it's Death. And then if I just rattle through a few. So you've got David Warner playing Lord Downey, Tony Robinson playing Mr. Crumley, who owns the shop. Obviously, Tony Robinson did a lot of the audiobooks, I think, didn't he? Nigel Planer is Mr. Sidney, the Downers Luck wizard, who's also a thumbsucker. Joss Ackland plays Ridcully. Rodri Mellier, didn't look up how to say that. Sorry, I've not prepared for this properly at all. Played Bilius, who obviously in this is from Clamados.
Yep.
He's a Welsh gentleman. Peter Gibbons is Meeting Dave. And then obviously Sir Terry Pratchett had a little role as the shopkeeper.
Yes.
That
was
nice.
Nice, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And also they got a human man to play Corporal Nobby Nobbs, who did quite well considering he was a human man.
Yes.
When I feel like Nobby can't really be accurately portrayed, much like Maris Crane from Frasier, because there's just too much. You're like, you can't, a human can't do this.
No, I think it's about as close as you were going to get to that, really.
I mean, he wasn't like a really short guy, but he was playing properly a bit unpleasant and like
buck teeth, and
I think quirky.
I think to be fair, the buck teeth was a little unfair because I don't necessarily think as Nobby is having buck teeth, but I don't know. But
all the other things that are mentioned,
okay. But what I was going to say was, but all the other, but if you're
that's
trying
a fairly
to
easy thing to do.
Yes, that's what I mean. It's with all trying to make him look unattractive, or that's it to do versus
rather than whatever weird skin stuff they would have had to have done.
Yes.
Were they trying to make things in any way accurate to the book, which you can't really do.
Yes, that's fine.
So yes. Various other people who were in it who did quite well. I think the lady who was the mother of the little girl and then she's frozen with sword, she did some very good eyeball acting when she was frozen. I thought.
Just fair enough. Educational.
Yeah, so I think
the casting was good. I think you've got solid. Everyone felt
the children were all right as well.
Yeah. So all in all, solid. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So shall we go on to visuals?
Yes.
So, as I mentioned before, it's not really effects, but yeah, the sets and props are really good. There are a lot of details. At various points, I noticed how much detail there was in the schoolroom that Susan has. Those kids had all sorts of equipment and stuff in there. Which is
not surprising. The mother was most likely willing to throw a lot of money at this to make it look like they were.
Well, one or other than. Yeah. But yes, there are quite a lot of nice details in Death's Domain. You've got the whole black house. You actually have the skeletal garden gnome.
Yes.
But you also have one thing I noticed is that it was monochrome apart from certain bits. So Albert and Susan both of them, most of it was monochrome, including like their clothes. Well, Susan's wearing black and white, so it's hard to tell, and her hair's white with a black streak. But I think with both of them, their skin actually wasn't entirely monochrome. They still had a little bit of course, they're living people.
Yeah.
So that kind of makes sense, which I sort of noticed. Because I noticed at one point with Albert, I thought, Albert's in colour. And I was like, oh, no, wait, he's holding things that aren't in colour.
Yeah.
I'd say it's a little hard to tell with Susan because her whole thing is being monochrome anyway. But yeah, like, they both had, like, actual skin tone, but everything else was monochrome. So that was quite a nice touch. The Two Fairies castle, a lot of it was practical sets, but then they'd obviously had to animate kind of like the scale of it.
Yeah. That's not uncommon. But
they had they obviously had to make a lot of teeth. Like, a lot of teeth.
Don't think enough teeth.
Well, but it was a lot of teeth, and then there's a bit where Billy has to scratch a wall, and like it's made of it's got teeth embedded in the wall.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, that's kind of interesting. You know, the CG was mostly for scale, and then sort of magic was kind of depicted as like sparkly lights a bit.
Yes. Yeah. We don't get a lot of overt magic, which is
different to, I guess, Colour of Magic, which had a bit more of that, but I mean, also, like, streets and houses, like, the exterior stuff was quite good. One thing I thought was very good, but quite subtle, is when Susan freezes time and then walks through a snowy street, you can see the tunnel of snowflakes that she's gone past, which, again, I think is referenced in the book, but they did do it, and they didn't have to, necessarily.
I think that was nice.
That was quite sort of subtle there.
They managed to pull off because obviously Ankh-Morpork is an odd place. Well, it's all an odd place, but as far as sort of time and sort of building style and ideas, because obviously, you know, you've got Crumley's, which is this idea of this Hamley style toy store. It
definitely felt, I think, more Victorian than some of the other stuff does. But then again, that's a lot of our Christmas traditions that we have now, or a lot of the media we have that is kind of based off of these very Victorian ideas. You know, like Queen Victoria set up a whole company to promote Christmas.
Yeah, so I think, you know, so that's
Charles Dickens involved, probably something.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of Victoriana within our Christmas stuff, and obviously one of the things of Hogfather is looking at how things are over time. Yeah. I mean, some of the mythic stuff is in there, but it's more explained, I think. Yeah. But I think having that kind of, you know, Victoriana feel is quite good, whereas other times Ankh-Morpork and Discworld feels a little bit more like Renaissance or early modern sort of time. But I think the Victoriana sort of type thing worked very well.
Yeah, but you know, the city is a split city between the rich and the poor. So to be, you know, it does then highlight when you're in the poorer sections of the city. You know, it looks even older, but you know, you don't have as the fancy buildings and the paved streets and that. So they don't see much of the Ankh itself.
No, again, I feel like that's a river that'd be hard to depict.
A lot of that.
It's like the Maris Crane of rivers.
I think the big special effect was for the opening shots, which was of the Great Atuin swimming through space with the 4 elephants on its back, and then the Discworld.
Just to kind of show us where we are initially.
You know, and that, I think for it being the initial one, I think it was a better CGI job than the later Colour of Magic one. Might have to go and compare them later. But no, that was really good. I think my only nitpick for that is some of the crater place, because obviously all the creatures have got crater marks on them from asteroids and that. Unfortunately, some of the locations of the crater marks on the elephants don't make sense because it's protected by the fact it's got the disc on it.
The elephants chucking them between themselves or something.
Yeah, I don't know, but you know, it's you know, that's my, you know, but that's well done.
Yeah, that was good. I mean, it's that sort of establishing shot of the Discworld to be like, this is what's happening. So this is the level we're at, guys. If you're not familiar, we're here.
Yeah.
Zoom right in. Now it's about people. The nightmares in the Two Fairies Castle, the exterior, which is obviously a child's painting, I think that's still quite well done. Yeah. Obviously, they have that painting on the wall in the nursery before that, kind of like as there is more foreshadowing. Although there's less, again, there's not the time to have the foreshadowing that there is in the book. But yeah, so they have the nightmares people are experiencing. There's less of the kind of like darkness and shadows rushing around, but it does show the people being scared stuff. It establishes if you're killed in the castle, you fade away, and then you land basically in the Unseen University, as it turns out. Like, how many corpses are on their roof at that point? A lot
of corpses are on their roof, yeah.
So yeah, you sort of have that, but you know, the fact that everyone suddenly gets scared, it does show. Like, Mr. Sidney is sucking his thumb, although I will say Nigel Player is only putting the very tip of his thumb in his mouth, which is not generally how people who suck their thumbs actually do. But you know, I guess it's whatever people are comfortable with. But it sort of has this as the guy with the wardrobe, he sort of hears the creak. But then, because it's a wardrobe, you see the wardrobe. Because you can get a wardrobe in.
Yep.
It's a wardrobe. And then, but the scissor man probably would have looked a bit weird. So it's just sort of shadows coming from him and the noise.
Yeah.
But the noise is the thing that's scary.
Yeah, and I think if they'd have actually animated a scissor man, I think it would have been very difficult to make that impactful. So,
and didn't see it would just have looked like Old Who, probably.
Yeah. So yeah, the not showing is is better, or not.
Sorry, it just occurs to me that's another Johnny Depp reference. Maybe.
Yeah.
Scissor hands, but anyway.
Yeah.
But then the whole thing with Lily White, who looks a bit ghostly, but is obviously that's an actress, and they've just made it look a bit like see-through-ish. But that I think also worked quite well. So you've got different sort of things, which sort of shows that the Tooth Fairy / the Bogeyman is trying things out. Yes, I think the only thing we sort of thought perhaps wasn't so good also was the Castle of Bones.
Yeah, it's
only quite brief, I suppose.
It is. It just didn't. From
a distance, you couldn't really tell it was a Castle of Bones. It was like a weird structure in the mountain.
It's only the kind of the pelvic throne.
I mean, that is what it was, but what a weird way to say it. He's just sitting ensconced in a big pelvis.
Really
pelvic bone, not pelvis. That's getting worse. Anyway.
I mean, they
obviously built the thing that you have to fall down. So.
Yes, but it was all covered in snow. The throne was the only thing that was really recognisable as bone. The rest of it, it's just like kind of
attached to it.
So I was. It's like, I mean, it wasn't really. They go there twice, and it's not really a big location point. So obviously they didn't put much effort into it. So that's fair enough. But they do call it like his castle. They do actually call it the Castle of Bones. So
they sort of say it.
Yeah,
and then you're a bit like, oh, okay. Well, I guess that just explains why there's. It's the Castle of Bones. That's why this looks like a bone. Okay,
fine.
Does everything else look like a bone?
Yeah.
as long as there's like two, then it's still accurate. Yeah. The Death of Rats and the Boars are obviously CG'd in as well.
Yes, and Death of Rats was good. The Boars are a smidge cartoony.
Slightly, they're only in it kind of.
Yeah, they're not
briefly
very, very realistic. But I think that's fine. I don't think if you'd have had very realistic, and they're described in the book as being kind of this. Boar plus, the kind of, alpha
like horrifying,
horrifying
hulking, like folkloric beasts.
And I think that,
from cultures that relied mostly on hunting boar.
Although this has reminded me of the one bigger gripe I have, and why did I mention it?
You said you were going to mention it.
I must say in adaptation. So they fluff one of the best jokes in there as far as I'm concerned. One of
the best. There's so many jokes in that book.
Yeah, but the Death trying to get the boars to take off and fly, not knowing the magic word, and sitting there and trying all those things, and finally it's apple sauce, and they go. They only do the punchline, which is
at which point it's not a joke.
It's not a joke. It's like. No.
I mean, if you didn't already know it, you might be like, ha, but it's not,
Yeah, well, it's just,
Maybe it got cut. Maybe that's also
I know, but it's just, I wasn't...
Death of Rats, and I think you thought the Death of Rats noises were more rat-like.
Yeah, they were much more rat-like.
So, again, well done to Michelle Dockery.
What more do we want to say about this? I think if you haven't watched it already, why go watch it? I mean...
Ideally, November, December sort of time, I guess.
Yeah, this is the perfect time to be watching it. Yes, this is great, go watch it.
Just as a small, I guess, parish note that I thought I should mention before, some people may have previously heard our neighbours, occasionally human but mostly canine. But some months ago, the Dog Guild did move up north. So, again, people who've been listening for a while may have noticed there have been less dog noises for a bit. But it's nothing like sad for us.
No.
It's just that our neighbours who had several dogs have moved. We now have, after some, quiet months, we now have some new neighbours who may be audible in the background, but there's only been an occasional dog thus far, so I don't know if it lives there or if it visits.
No idea.
But yeah, so that's quite a new situation. But yeah, just the change in the background noise people may be detecting, because I only have a certain amount of time for editing, and we have a lot of ums and and such to take out as well.
Another one for you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyway, I think we shall wrap this up.
Yeah.
Christmas pun there for you.
There
we go. I think we shall wish you all a very merry Hogswatch, a very happy new year. And we shall be back in 2026 in January with our Last Continent episode and the rest of the series. So we hope you can join us then.
Yes, thank you for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Dining Table Discworld. You can find us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Dining Table Discworld. You can also find us on BlueSky at dtdiscworld. All our other contact information and credits for our music can be found in our show notes. Thank you for listening again, and we'll see you in our next episode.